Madam President.
Senator from Oklahoma.
Thank you. I want to thank my colleague from Wyoming for allowing me to jump in here for about 5 minutes. This became an issue as we faced the greatest recession that we've ever had. And at the same time, we had GAO looking at how we're spending our money. And for just a little history, so everybody will know, when GAO did their first report, we had 47 separate job training programs run by 9 different agencies. And that year that they looked at it, we spent $18.5 billion. What we found is only 2 of them had metrics on them, and we weren't even paying attention to the metric to use them. I would applaud the work of the Help Committee, Senator Enzi, Senator Isaacson, Senator Alexander, Senator Murray, and Senator Harkin for bringing the bill to the floor. It is an improvement over what we're doing, but I want to offer a couple of points that I think the American people ought to know. We're not going near far enough, not anywhere close to where we need to go. The Skills Act coming out of the House markedly changed job training in this country. Now, this is a big modification to the Skills Act, but the Skills Act actually paid attention to the Government Accountability Office. And what they did is consolidate a lot of programs and put real metrics and real competition into the job training. 2 critical flaws in this bill that I think are a mistake. I know this bill is going to pass, so it is moving the ball down the road. Number 1, there's no metric in here to say in a job training program, did somebody get a job in the thing that they were trained for? So it doesn't matter how many people we train. If there's no job and they got no job for what they trained, we've wasted the money. So that's not anywhere in this bill. The second thing is the vast majority of money in this country that's spent on job training is Job Corps. And when you ask behind the scenes why we didn't have major reform to Job Corps, it's because all the parochial people they employ. In Oklahoma, it's over 1,000. Except most of the Job Corps programs in Oklahoma are highly inefficient, failing to do what we want them to do. And they're not going to be held accountable with this bill. So 2 really disastrous things that, had they been added, would have made a real difference. And let me tell you why I can speak to that. Because when the GAO put out their report on all the job training programs, I had every one of my staffers in Oklahoma go to every job training, state and federal, in Oklahoma. Let me tell you what we found. What we found was the federal programs were totally failing. We were very good at employing people in job training programs with federal money, but when you looked for the outcome of whether or not we gave somebody a skill that gave them an ability to have a life, we failed. And contrast that to Oklahoma's career tech system and their own state-funded training programs where they were 90% effective in giving somebody a life skill. And so why I'm disappointed that the Skills Act didn't come over here and get voted on is because that's what was in the Skills Act, is really accomplishing the goal. My colleagues have been great with me in working on this bill to try to attest and to accommodate my desires to see some changes. But there's these two critical flaws. And it speaks of the lack of courage in our country today that because we have people employed in Job Corps programs, that we're not going to really shake that system up and make it do what it needs to do. I'll never forget, I had a town hall meeting in Guthrie, Oklahoma, the largest Job Corps training in Oklahoma, and I wrote a report that was highly critical of it. They all came here, and I faced them down. I said, do you really want federal government money spent on your salary that doesn't accomplish the goal of giving somebody a life skill? And they couldn't answer yes. They had to answer no. They really didn't want that. But that's what Job Corps still is in this bill. And that's by far the biggest job training program we have. So I applaud for the changes that you've made, the movement that you've gone forward. But when there's no metrics on whether or not the skill that was trained got a job, you don't have any idea what you're going to be measuring after this bill goes through and gets eliminated. And number 2, if you have not fundamentally gutted the present Job Corps system and changed it to where it's responsible to actually accomplish a goal and hold them accountable Like we need to be holding the VA accountable. If you don't do that, you haven't really fixed anything. This bill, we have no CBO score on it. It's at least $58 billion over the next 6 years, at least. And we're going to vote a bill again that doesn't have a score. So the intentions are pure on my colleagues, but I think you're missing two critical things if you really want to fix job training. I thank you for your work. I appreciate your accommodation, and I know this bill will pass, and it is an improvement, but it's not going to fix the fundamental problems. Thank you, and I yield the floor.